Clark County Today is presented by Connell Real Estate. Hire an agent, get a team. Learn more by visiting connellrealestate.com.
Hey everyone, Chris Brown here with your Thursday edition of your Clark County Today video update. Well, Clark County added 21 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the total to 2,181. The death toll remains at 42. That's been unchanged since this time last week. Hospitalization rates have climbed a bit since the weekend, up to 21 confirmed cases in Clark County hospitals, 10 more suspected cases, making just under 5% of available hospital beds occupied by a confirmed or suspected COVID-19 case. Now, hospital capacity, however, remains good with nearly 35% of beds currently available. Sad news in the search for a missing Vancouver man. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office says the 34-year-old's body was found this morning at the bottom of a ravine near Southeast 97th and Sunnybrook Boulevard. The search for the man, who has not yet been identified, began Wednesday morning when his mother called Vancouver police to report him missing. He'd last been seen Tuesday near the Kaiser Sunnyside campus. On Wednesday evening, the man's family called to tell dispatchers they were searching the ravine near where the subject was last seen. And then just after 7 this morning, the family reported they had found the man's body. Rescue crews were able to recover the body after several hours. The victim's name will be released after an autopsy. In the ever-changing world of planning for high school sports, there is yet another new plan. Here is Paul Valencia with the latest details.
The fall is complete for fall sports. They have all been pushed back to 2021. We already knew football, volleyball, girls soccer, girls swimming. Those sports were already moved to early 2021. Now, cross country, slow pitch softball, boys golf, boys tennis also moved to 2021. The 4A and 3A GSHLs voted on Wednesday to just push everything back a few months. We expect the 2A GSHL to do the same thing real soon. As one AD said, it's hard to justify sports, bringing students together for sports, when we can't bring students together for school. What this means? No competitions for WIAA-sanctioned sports until at least January, when the traditional winter sports will start competition. These fall sports will begin practice toward the end of February with competition in early March. That's the plan anyway.
All right, thanks so much for keeping us up to date on all of that, Paul. Appreciate it. The Clark County Sheriff's Office is pulling school resource officers from 5 high schools in 4 school districts, including Vancouver, Evergreen, Battleground, and Hawkinson. The move, which will impact the upcoming school year, is largely aimed at reducing the Sheriff's Department budget due to impending cuts related to the COVID-19 pandemic. With schools opening online only in September, deputies would have remained largely on patrol duty anyway. The extra staffing helps to cut down on overtime and save money. The Sheriff's Office and several districts we heard from said they appreciate the SRO program and fully anticipate that it will resume after the coming school year when things can finally return to normal. And meanwhile, the Battleground School Board of Directors voted unanimously this week to approve a $95,000 federal grant, which will allow Battleground Police to hire a second school resource officer to work in middle and primary schools inside city limits there. The members of Clark County Council held the second of 3 listening sessions on systemic racism last night. Nearly 20 people signed up to share their personal experiences here in Clark County.
When I experienced racism on a personal level from colleagues, or I had encounters of people who knew my colleagues, when they asked me insulting things like, "Oh, what do you do? Are you an aide?" rather than make the accurate assumption that I am an educator. And I also hold 2 master's degrees. I find myself walking away frustrated, but not giving myself permission to defend myself.
And what has greeted me for several years when I enter the fairgrounds, a larger-than-life Confederate flag, hoisted high above the crowds for all to see, that worshipped symbol in celebration of anti-Black racism, slavery, violence, oppression, tyranny, Jim Crow, and subjugation. Black folks patronize the fair, but you'd be hard-pressed to see any of us employed by this major county attraction. And when you look at the fair's marketing materials, it's clear that the fair isn't being marketed to Black and brown people like me. My green money pays for this flagship county event, but my brown face is rendered invisible.
Clark County Council will hold a third listening session on August 26th. That one will not be recorded or broadcast to the public in order to protect the privacy of people who otherwise might be reluctant to share their stories. Notes will be taken and released to the public. If you wish to sign up to speak, you can find a link to do so in our story at clarkcountytoday.com. Over 100 years ago, a woman broke societal norms to found a church in northern Clark County, and then shortly thereafter, a global pandemic gripped the world, even that small community. So these incredible parallels to today are part of what has inspired the folks at the North Clark Historical Museum in Amboy to get creative for their 110th anniversary. Here's Jacob Graneman with more.
The old white church at the center of the town of Amboy has had a long last millennium. After being founded by a female circuit rider preacher from the area in 1910, the church grew into a center for a community of immigrants who worked hard in the logging industry. Now, it is a museum that has been restored to house history of the area, the history of the native people that were there before the settlers, and curate a space for the next generation to learn.
I can remember going to Sunday school here with my grandmother in 1940.
I went to the old school here, just up by our territorial ground. We didn't have room to have Christmas plays or anything, so we came here to the museum to use the stage for our plays for Christmas.
This building was about ready to collapse. I'm convinced if we had not done that restoration of the roof, that the building would have collapsed.
I'm on the committee to put together the 110th anniversary, which would have been September 25th, 2020.
We're going to be highlighting this for the next year until we can do this again next year in September when it was dedicated.
So we're keeping our social distance, and the building's big. You know, people can spread out, and we could have one or two other volunteers doing things.
There just seems to be a generational gap, and I don't want the baton to be dropped. I actually want to try to use the pandemic to bring families in for personalized tours, maybe weave them into history lessons.
Wow, 110 years. And I thought my 10th wedding anniversary tomorrow was a big deal. Thanks for that report, Jacob. Well, that's your Thursday check of the stories we're following for you at clarkcountytoday.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to see when stories are posted and stay in touch with what's happening in your community. You can also send us story ideas and feedback through email, news@clarkcountytoday.com. For all of us, I'm Chris Brown. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with you again at this time tomorrow.